All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome in. Today, we are going to be ranking every MCU Phase 4 to Phase 6 project before Doomsday comes out. I was waiting for Brand New Day to come out and for me to finish watching it. I am going to be posting a few shorts and reels about that pretty soon, probably later this week. But for now, I figured it would be fun to do a little tier list just for shits and giggles, and let's see how it goes. I've organized every project from release date, and I'm going to be talking about them a little bit, and then I want to talk about my thoughts and feelings about Doomsday and what I hope for with it. Um, so let's start up. First of all, our first project of Phase 4, WandaVision. Now this show was a cultural reset. This show came to prove something. It was ugh this show changed everything for me. I'm sorry. I live for Scarlet Witch. Seeing her as a main character, as the lead of her own series was amazing. The show had such an amazing amount of beautiful emotional moments. The acting was top notch. The story was amazing. I will never forget the experience of watching this week by week and like everybody questioning what the fuck is going on. So I just this is a clear Omega level for me. Let me explain to you my quick tiers first. Actually, I just threw it in there. First of all, we have Omega level. For those of you who don't get the reference, Omega level mutants are like the strongest, the best of the best. This is essentially our God tier, S tier. Then we have Avengers Assemble. This is going to be great movies that weren't perfection, but to me, still love them, still have a lot of care for them. Then we have Perfectly Balanced, a quote from Thanos. These are going to be, middle of the road movies that I think were good, maybe a lot of fun, but not anything special, and not, like a must watch. Um, Second to last, we have Snap from Existence. This is gonna be so. This one's an interesting one. This is kind of a catch-all for me. So to me, I'm going to put either really forgettable shows or shows that to me shows and movies. I'm either gonna put really forgettable shows and movies here, or things that I just haven't watched fully, which there isn't much. I believe majority of the stuff I've seen. But kind of, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. There shouldn't be too many options there. But yeah. And lastly, we're gonna have Poop from a Butt. This is the worst of the worst. Just absolutely do not watch. What is the point of this? And I already see a few that might jump in there. So, as I said, WandaVision, truly an amazing start. Yeah, yeah. I can't think of anything that hasn't already been said about WandaVision. It was truly a phenomenal show. And then we move on to The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, see this show. I remember when it first came out, a lot of people were excited for it, and you know, I was I was really interested in seeing the Falcon and the Winter Soldier's dynamics together. We kind of got a glimpse of it in Civil War, and I was excited to see how they work together. I think their chemistry, Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan's chemistry was pretty amazing. I think the story, though, this was a hard watch for me. I, I I did not like the main villain. I don't even remember her name. The redhead, didn't like it. The whole power broker storyline was terrible, and the reveal wasn't great either. Um, yeah, I think the most interesting things we got from this series was really, you know, Anthony Mackie becoming the new Captain America. I think the conversation about race, especially with the older man, I forgot his name now. And he basically was kind of the first uh, enhanced soldier. Uh, was a really interesting, probably the only saving grace of this show. Other than that, yeah, like I don't know. I really love Anthony Mackie as the new Captain America. I think that conversation around race was great, but mm, I don't know. I don't know if I want to put it from scratch from existence. I don't know. I think I'm gonna put it in perfectly balanced. I think this is a fine show. For the people who are gonna like it, they're gonna like it. For the people who aren't, it's gonna be kind of a boring watch for the most part. But I think this was a lot of missed potential. I think there was a lot of things they could have taken further. Uh, this was the introduction of U.S. Agent, who I think is a great character. And when we get to Thunderbolts, that'll be an even more interesting conversation to have. Next up, we have Loki, a fan favorite. Tom Hiddleston plays this character to perfection. This show is phenomenal. That I don't know what else to say about it. It's just like this was. It felt like a breath of fresh air, just like WandaVision. And I think a lot of people were really nervous after Endgame, like what is gonna happen with the MCU? What are we doing here? And I think these two projects, WandaVision and Loki, started in a really promising direction. It kind of, was like, we're gonna tell these fun, funky, kind of weird stories that we haven't really dived into before. It kind of, to me, feels like when they saw the success that Guardians was, to some degree, they were like, you know what, this phase should have a little bit more fun, kind of just let's try and see what happens. And when it works well, it works well. And when it doesn't, it feels like they were throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. So yeah. So moving on. Um Actually, you know what? Not moving on. Let's go back to Loki. I also want to talk about how this show is not only a must watch because of the performance and the story and everything that show has to offer is great. The final episode of season one of the best episodes of any Marvel show ever. But I also think this is a really, really important show for you to watch before Doomsday. I do want to preface with that. Like, I think, WandaVision is a great, like, solo story. And they do a good job at making it kind of isolated while also being like, if you wanted to watch this, it could benefit you later on, but it's not a necessary watch. And the Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think, isn't like it is necessary because of Captain America, the new Captain America and U.S. Agent, but whatever. Black Widow. Now, Black Widow, there was so much controversy around this film. One, releasing a prequel film to a character that had already passed away, a character that had been in the series for 10 years, who was a woman who never got her own series. Pretty much every main Avenger got their own film or show, except for Hawkeye and except for Black Widow. And, a lot of people were kind of disappointed with the timing of it. I wasn't too disappointed with the timing of it. I thought it was fine. I just thought everything else I was disappointed with. I think the CGI in this movie was the first place where I'm like, whoa. Marvel took a big step back. That we went from some of the best CGI in Infinity War and Endgame to there's just some shots in this movie that are so hideous. I mean, there's the notorious Yelena blowing off the helicarrier thing, but there's just even the tank chase scene was just awful. I think Scarlet Witch, Scarlett Johansson, did decent. I think it's really hard to top what she brought into Endgame. I think that was truly her best story and her best performance yet. I do still think she did good. I think the best thing that came from this movie was, of course, Yelena Belova, Florence Pugh. Just what a welcomed addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Um, her performance made me immediately fall in love with her, and pretty much anything else she's shown up in has kind of saved the project for me. Um, so I don't. This is a rough one because there's good moments here. I think the whole storyline about the Black Widows is interesting, but like they do kind of fumble it a little bit. Oh, that is not where I'm gonna put it here for now, just because I think there's other ones that I don't want to fill this category snap from existence too much, and poop from a butt is like poop from a butt. Like I still think this is a fun watch. There was a lot of disappointments in it, but it's fine. It's fine. It's a fine movie. And now, speaking of disappointment, we have what if? What if has to be the biggest failed opportunity that Marvel has ever done. Let me get to it. Let me explain why actually. See, what if is such an interesting story in the comics, it's basically just what if blank blank alternate history happened that changed Marvel forever. And I think there was really two approaches they could have done with this. They could have kept it to something as simple as like, what if this person didn't show up to a restaurant, or what if this person didn't show up at the right time, to even bigger, crazier questions. And I think they tried to like scratch the surface of that, but then they started to focus on stories that either people didn't really care about or just weren't going anywhere. I know a lot of people's biggest disappointment with it was having this kind of continuous story of like Haley Atwell's Captain Britain being the leader of it, and I think this. I kind of agree, like in a way, I love her. I actually do not hate her as much as everybody else does. Um, I just think my biggest problem with the show is just so much wasted potential. There were so many cool storylines they could have done that they just didn't even try to touch upon. Um, and I unfortunately am gonna have to put it in poop from a butt for that. I just, I think there was maybe one episode of this show that I really enjoyed. Other than that, it wasn't there for me. I'm sorry. I would have loved to see this done much better. And yeah, the next movie is Shang-Chi, and I have so many great things to say about Destin Daniel Cretton. This man has directed some of the best MCU projects within Phase 4, 5, and 6. Just, I don't know. He's on another level. He's one of the few directors in MCU right now that's actually doing something worth a damn. And Shang-Chi was our first look at that. Uh, this, you know, there was a little moment where it did suffer from Marvel CGI, but really, it's just Shang-Chi was such a nice addition to the Marvel roster. He's a fun character. I think his dynamic with Aquafina's character was amazing, and it was really nice to see two main characters be best friends and not just be like boyfriend girlfriend. They. I'm really glad that movie didn't end with any sort of romantic link between them. But really, it's just everything comes back to the fight choreography, the directing, the humor was there. I will never forget my movie theater experience watching this movie. I think this was another sign that Marvel was headed in the right direction after Endgame. That eventually plummets, but that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I personally think Shang-Chi is up here. I think my only issue with Shang-Chi that I would say is I haven't rewatched it since like I watched it. I just think it's like I don't know. I don't know why I haven't. There's a part of me that wants to throw it in Avengers Assemble, but it feels kind of disrespectful to do that. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna leave it in God tier. I said what I said. Maybe at the end of this list, I'll look over everything again and make some changes. But as of right now, this is what we have. Um, Up next, Eternals. Now, Eternals, my poor sweet Eternals. This movie got such a ridiculous amount of hate for absolutely no reason. Because let me tell you, the casting, phenomenal. Everybody ate. Everybody. Like, every single character in this movie did great. The Eternal story was phenomenal. The directing was great. Uh, I don't know. I think this was a great movie, and I really, I guess there was little parts of here and there where it was a little long, a little boring, but I think it worked well for history buffs. I think this wasn't like an MCU slop project, um, and you know, I personally think it's much better than people give it credit for. So I'm putting in Avengers Assemble. I said what I said. If you don't like that, then get off. Next we have Hawkeye. Hawkeye was Hawkeye. This show, this project was a long time coming. We finally got a Hawkeye project, and I think it sucks because this didn't feel like a Hawkeye project. It felt more like a Kate Bishop project and setting up Kate Bishop. And mind you, she's a great addition. I also love Yelena's little cameo role. This I think this show felt like more setting up for the Young Avengers and the Thunderbolts and setting up Daredevil and all these other shows more than anything. And it was a shame because I really wanted to see Hawkeye kind of shine. I wanted to see the comic book Hawkeye. I think we got like one decent moment where I think it was the bridge scene where we got to see some of his fun arrows, but it wasn't there for me, and I wish it was. But there was uh, I kind of want to put it there. It was good. It was good. There was a lot of good stuff in it. Like again, Kate Bishop was amazing. mm, I lied. I'm putting it here. Yeah. We're snapped from existence. I just think it was a wee bit forgettable. Um, Up next, let's see. Ooh, up next we have No Way Home. So I just recently showed this movie to Corbin, and I rewatching it for the first time in probably like I want to say 3 years. It was just as great as it was the first time. I'm sorry, I said what I said. I think this movie really holds up. I know a lot of people turned on it afterwards, but are you kidding me? Fucking all three Spider-Mans. This movie felt like an absolute love letter to the Spider-Man. I think the ending was just too good. Like giving us the Spider-Man, like setting up the Spider-Man that people have been waiting for since Tom Holland was introduced. Green Goblin, like, and Doc Ock being in it. Like, I'm sorry, yes, it's nostalgia bait. I don't care. I don't care because guess what? No one can play Green Goblin the way Willem Dafoe can, and no one can play Doc Ock the way fucking I forgot his name. What's his name? Let's see, Doc Ock. Fucking Alfred Molina. Yeah, I'm sorry. Alfred Molina is phenomenal. This man is a fucking amazing stage performer, and he gave the role just so much emotion and so many little scenes. I don't know. Aunt May's death in it was also, ugh, just I again another moment that I don't know. Maybe I'm like in the rare crowd for it, but I know for a lot of people though, like Aunt May, they didn't really care about her death, but I did. I cried. I said what I said. Um, yeah, I just think this was a great story, and it was a great kind of ending to that version of Tom Holland Spider-Man, which little sneak peek. I'm really excited about what Brand New Day brought. So yeah. Anyway, moving on to Moon Knight. Moon Knight? You know what? Here's my problem with Moon Knight. I think Moon Knight had a lot of good setup. I think Oscar Isaac did an amazing job in the role. And here's my problem with it. Let's take another double seat for that. My problem with Moon Knight is I have no idea where it's going. Like, we have heard no rumblings of Moon Knight's coming back. There's going to be a second season. It kind of just happened and ended. And I think it was a great introduction to the character. But I wish, I just really hope there's more. But it was a great show. I enjoyed it. I loved it. Um, but I guess that has more to do with the MCU than the show itself because the show was good. It was good. Oscar Isaac gave a great performance. I think my biggest nitpick about this show that I think was a lot of people's nitpicks was the style of making him black out when the action scenes were supposed to happen. I understand narratively why that occurred. I think they overdid it a little bit where I would have loved to see more of Moon Knight in action. Um, it seems like they were trying to do two things at once where it's like they were trying to make it very MCU-fied, MCU-sified, you know what I mean? But also make it like a character study about this person with multiple personalities. And it's like I wish they would have either made it very MCU or made it very much a character study. All that to be said, Avengers Assemble. I still think it's a great watch. I still think anybody who watches it will enjoy it. I also think that I really like that it's kind of on its own. You don't need to watch any other Marvel projects to understand this show. And I appreciate that. Multiverse of Madness is up next. Okay, okay. Multiverse of Madness is another one of those movies that a lot of people didn't love as much as I loved. I think the Doctor Strange 2016 movie was one of my favorite Marvel projects from like phase one, two, and three. And I think getting to see Doctor Strange's world again was really fun. I think America Chavez was a great addition. I think Scarlet Witch, I mean, what hasn't been said about Elizabeth Olsen? That's Mother right there. She is my favorite character in the MCU right now. And I really loved seeing her play a villain. I'm sorry. It was fun. It was cool. Um, Obviously, I think the biggest complaint with this movie is like we didn't get to see much of the multiverse at all, and it's like, yeah, I get where people are coming from, but I this was the introduction. I think it's so funny to me because in the same breath that people say that, they're also like, we're over the multiverse, and like that's it, it's too much now. But it's like you're also complaining about like this was not giving you enough of it. Anyway, um, I me personally, I kind of want to put it in Omega level, but I also do. I think my biggest issue with the movie is that it feels very disjointed from the first Doctor Strange movie and the story, like the end credit scene that set up. I also think that the ending of this movie was weird. Like the whole third eye thing and Clea showing up out of nowhere. It was just like, okay, I guess. Um, but just Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen just kind of steals the show. I feel like anything she's in is automatically an Omega level for me. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. Fight with your moms about it. Anyway, up next, Miss Marvel. Now, Miss Marvel, you know what? Here's the thing. Miss Marvel, the character, is such a great addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Iman Vellani is God's gift to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Iman Vellani is so fucking good in this role. She plays like this cutesy, kind of nerdy goofball teenager so well. Um, and she's like a little nerd in real life, and I love that. And I love how much she loves the MCU. I think my biggest problem with this show is, again, the MCU-ification of things. You know, I really, really wish that this was a show that would have been more of like a character study thing where we had this teenage girl, especially like in the comics, her character is so based around how weird she feels about her abilities and kind of like this body dysmorphia thing happening. And I wish they would have tackled that in the show. I wish they would have touched upon that and added more layers to her character with it. Um, I also think it would have been interesting on her parents' side to talk more about like the immigrant experience. I know they kind of touched upon that with like her ancestor story, but I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I just wish they would have taken it further. Um I don't know. I almost hate putting it in Snap from Existence, but like the show itself is somewhat forgettable for me, but Iman Vellani's performance isn't. So that's, this is never against Iman Vellani. We love you. I hope you get better writing and a better script and a better show or movie or project down the line because you deserve it. Okay. Uh, Next, Thor: Love and Thunder. Ugh, Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, Thor's history with the MCU has been so interesting to watch because he went from this like super serious kind of theatrical character in his movies, or at least that's what they were trying to do to some level. Although he was always funny, he always had a sense of humor to him. But then they really took it there with Ragnarok, and Ragnarok, as we all know, is one of the best Marvel movies ever made. But Thor: Love and Thunder was kind of, the humor wasn't there for me in the same way. It just wasn't. Honestly, I know a lot of people probably complained about this because misogynist, but my favorite part of the story was actually Jane's like Mighty Thor story and like the whole thing with her having cancer and her needing to take on the power of Thor like in the comics. I thought that was a really good element of it, and her relationship with Thor, getting to see that again. Um but like, the humor just wasn't there for me as much. It just wasn't. Those annoying goats, let's not talk about them. Anyway, I'm sorry. I almost feel bad putting this. No, I can't. Should I? Ugh. I don't know. It's like this. I'm gonna put it in Snap from Existence. I'll tell you why. Because it's the same thing with Miss Marvel of like Thor. Like Chris Hemsworth's performance as Thor is so phenomenal that like you could put him in anything and I'll enjoy it to some degree. But that doesn't mean the project was good. And it just wasn't. I'm sorry, it wasn't. I hate to say it, but that's okay. Um She-Hulk. Now She-Hulk, listen, I tried to give She-Hulk a shot, and there's a lot of elements in She-Hulk that I enjoy. I like that she's another character that kind of breaks the fourth wall. Um I like. I don't know what else I like about it. I think there was a lot of weird missed opportunities in this show and a lot of cringy moments. Like her whole Megan Thee Stallion episode was like especially cringy for a lot of people, and honestly, even for me. And I love the girls. I live for that, but it just wasn't there. The CGI was really fucking weird and bad. I liked the concept of treating it kind of like a rom com cutesy show at first, like a sitcom, but it's like it didn't know what it wanted to be. Like it wanted to be a cutesy sitcom in one episode and be about like She-Hulk is dating, She-Hulk's going to a wedding, and then the next episode it wanted to be She-Hulk's fighting danger and She-Hulk is fucking dealing with these fucking crazy threats. And the ending was interesting, the whole her fully breaking through the Marvel walls and fucking getting to the behind the scenes shit. But it also felt kind of weirdly misplaced. It felt like everything that the show was leading up to, which wasn't much, felt like it just got kind of thrown out the window already in that moment. I don't know. I don't know. I would like to see the character show up again and maybe done a little bit better. But this was a mistake in some ways. Yeah, yeah, it's poop from above. I'm sorry. I don't want to be. It's poop from above for different reasons. I think a lot of people hate it because they're misogynist. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I hoped I would because it just was kind of cringy when it could have been cute and cunt, or I don't know, she could have been more badass. It just wasn't there for me. Werewolf by Night, right? Yes. Okay. Now this was another one of those shows that I had a problem with Moon Knight of like, is this ever gonna go anywhere? Like, is this just a little special that they did and we're never gonna hear about this character again? But I loved being able to see a different version of Marvel. I think Marvel is at its best when it is experimental. I think it was cool to see smaller characters like Werewolf by Night and Elsa Bloodstone and Man Thing, I believe, was in it, or was it Man Thing or Swamp Thing? One of them. Anyway, that was all great. I think I really enjoyed like the whole thing being in black and white and it kind of giving this 1920s Dracula vibe throughout it. Um, I think it is a little more on the forgettable side. I think it's a good project, but I can't say I would. I'm gonna put it in Avengers simple. I think it's a good project. I think it's worth a watch. I don't think it's crucial to anything, and it's kind of it's like if this is like for the horror girlies, the girls who really like love horror stuff. Watch that, have a little fun, and enjoy it. What's next? Uh, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Oof. Now this was, let's just be honest, Omega level. There's really everything about this movie was amazing. I think they had such a hard task dealing with Chadwick Boseman's passing and having to basically rewrite this entire movie from scratch, like come up with a whole new story and figure out how they would move past it. And I think the way they wrote grief into this movie was so well done. It felt like such a beautiful tribute to Chadwick Boseman. I really fucking loved Namor. Namor's story. The actor who played Namor did a phenomenal fucking job. He was just like, this was Namor's movie just as much as it was Shuri's movie. I think my biggest issue is Lupita Nyong'o's character was wasted, and I really, when Chadwick Boseman died, and we were trying to figure out, what's gonna happen. Is they gonna recast him? Are they going to hand the mantle down to someone else? I really wanted it to be Lupita Nyong'o. I wanted her to take on the role because it kind of made sense. I feel like M'Baku, Okoye, and Shuri all kind of have their own sectors. M'Baku is like the leader of his tribe, and Okoye is the leader of the army, and Shuri's the brains behind all of Wakanda. And I felt like the only character who was kind of just thrown around was going to be Lupita Nyong'o's, and it's kind of exactly what happened. She was very, very much sidelined. We got her for a few scenes before the big reveal at the end, um, and I would really love to see her kind of in the same vein as Shuri have to work through her grief. And I think they could have even done it where, like, a lot of the times being a Keen is tied to being Black Panther. So they could have made it where, like, the same way they had the whole time skip and she had a child at the end, they could have made it where, like, she and him got married and she became the queen and she would now take on the mantle of Black Panther. Uh, so, you know, I think all the story beats that they did for Shuri were amazing. I just wish they were handed to an actress with a lot more potential and skill. But Shuri, Letitia Wright is still a great actress, although she's an anti-vaxxer. We don't talk about that. Um, but yeah, yeah. All that to be said, I love the movie. I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to nitpick here, but yeah, it was a phenomenal movie. So no notes, but one note. Uh, Next we have Ant-Man Quantumania. Ugh. This movie, sweet mother of pearl. This movie was so poop from a fucking butt that it's offensive. I love Paul Rudd, and Ant-Man is a fucking like hilarious, amazing character. But none of his movies to me have been great in any possible way. I think Ant Man was fine. Then Ant Man and the Wasp was like bad, and then we have Ant Man and the Wasp Quantum Mania, which was just god awful. Like, I like the whole concept of trying to put them within the quantum realm for once, and not just have it be like one or two scenes where we're traveling in there. But it just everything here was kind of lacking. The humor wasn't there, the writing wasn't there, the acting wasn't fully there either. I think Jonathan Majors King showing up here, I understand why they did it at that point. It was kind of like trying to do the whole Thanos thing where we're slowly dropping him in doses around to build him up. But in hindsight now, this is a rough watch because it's the last time we ever see him. Um, so it's even one of those other moments where it's like, okay, why was he here? Why did this happen? And I just, it's poop from a butt. It's poop from a butt. I think we can all agree on that. It's just a no for me, dog. But thanks for trying. you know. Uh, Next, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Okay, now this show, I actually really enjoyed it. I felt like it was interesting because it kind of started off. I remember when this show was being announced, it was like, oh, this is going to be freshman year, which was supposed to be like a prequel showing us how Tom Holland Spider Man got his powers in the first 6 months of him being a hero. And then it kind of became its own thing where it was like an alternate universe. And I think that it was great. I don't know what else to say. I love when Marvel does little animated shows and when they do them right because sometimes they don't, like What If. So I'm not gonna lie, it's not Omega level, but I'm gonna put it in Avengers Assemble. I think if you're looking for a fun little watch, that's right there. What's next? Secret Invasion. Yikes. Poop from butt. That show was so god awful in every possible way. Just what a waste. Just don't. Eh, I can't even think of anything that hasn't already been said about that show. It's just bad. It's just bad. Don't watch it. Don't waste your time. It's useless. The scrolls were wasted. It could have been so much fun. It could have been so interesting. I think they tried to maybe make it a little like, ooh, the Secret Invasion story, and by making Rhodey be the scroll, and then they immediately backtracked by being like, no, no, he only became the scroll like a month before this show. Don't worry. If you don't have the balls to take it all the way, don't do it. Anyway, uh, just don't watch Secret Invasion. It's terrible. Onward. We're almost there. We're almost done, guys. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Like every Guardians movie, this was Omega level. What a great watch. A great ending to the Guardians trilogy. Uh, I was a little worried about what they would do with Gamora after the whole Infinity War situation, but I really love what they decided to do with that story and how they ended it. Um, I think this was kind of Rocket's movie, which was amazing and really fun to see too. I sobbed. I truly, when Dog Days Are Over starts at the end, it's just get the fuck out of my way because I'm gonna cry. There's nothing to be said about this movie that hasn't already been said. Like I said, with a few of these projects, this is just possibly. I want to say the best trilogy the MCU has done. It's just perfect. It's a perfect trilogy, a perfect movie. Yeah, yeah. If you want to cry and you want to have a good time and have a good laugh, this is it. The Marvels is next. The Marvels, okay, here's the thing. Y'all hated the fuck out of this movie because of Brie Larson, and I hear you. But I actually think, unlike in Captain Marvel, she actually tried to bring a little bit of something else here. She tried to be a little bit funny. I think they were trying to kind of give her the Thor treatment of like, this character isn't working serious, so let's humor her up a little tiny bit at least. I liked that they added a layer to her character of kind of like she's the reason a whole race of people was dying. I think for me, what really, really makes this movie is again Miss Marvel and Monica Rambeau. I just think they were. I would have gladly seen just a movie with those two. The actresses who play both of them are phenomenal, and the characters are great. They're really interesting characters. I think Iman Vellani stole the show, like she always does. I really wish she was in better projects because she deserves it. She deserves to be up here in Omega level. But I still don't think this was anywhere near as bad as some of these other projects. I actually think it's imperfectly balanced. Bite me. I don't care. This was a good, fun watch. And it kind of might be important for Doomsday. So, Echo. You know what? Echo. I have something. My name is Jasmine Masters, and I have something to say. Echo was one of those shows that I was like, why the fuck are they making this? I'm sure everybody had the same reaction, but also I think watching it, I was just kind of like, what's going on here? This was like a question mark. This was probably Marvel's biggest question mark. And a lot of elements of the show weren't bad. I just think it was like, what are we doing here? It was very forgettable. And I think this was the first step in Marvel being like, all right, you know what? We need to scale back because we're releasing a lot of nonsense and we need to tighten this because it just, yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't think it was a bad show. I just think in terms of the broader MCU, it wasn't necessary. And yeah, I'm just gonna put it in Snap from Existence because it's like the definition of forgettable. yeah, I think there was a lot of interesting things in it. I think having a deaf hero was cool. Um, yeah, yeah, I have nothing else to say about it. I'm sorry. Deadpool and Wolverine. You know what? Right there. What else is there to say? We have been waiting for a Deadpool and Wolverine movie for the better part of forever, and getting to have Hugh Jackman again in this role with his comic accurate outfit was just oh not even in my wildest dreams did I think we would finally get this movie, and we did, and it was hilarious. I think it's like Ryan Reynolds is the definition of speaking things into existence, because even from the Deadpool character himself, he just wanted to play it so bad and wanted to play it so bad, and leak test footage, and then he got it made, and then to go from literally Deadpool 2, which ends with him going through all the fucking uh, past universes and meeting with Hugh Jackman, which obviously was like footage from a previous movie that they just stitched together, and making it this whole joke of like, oh, one day your friend Deadpool's gonna ask you to put on the claws again, and you better say yes. Before any conversations were being had, before even the Fox merger, like it's crazy. It's kind of insane that this movie actually exists, and it was just too good. Everything about it was too good. The acting was great. The cameos were great. It didn't feel like overdone. It actually felt like a bit of a love letter to that era of Marvel movies. We got to see Elektra, we got to see Blade, we got Channing Tatum finally playing Gambit after all these years. Um, we got Johnny Storm back, Chris Evans, that was great. And the villain was also one of the scariest, in my opinion, villains that Marvel has done in probably majority of this phase, majority of like phase 4, 5, and 6. So yeah, must watch. Yeah, yeah, yeah. These next few ones are interesting. Okay, Agatha all along. I'm gonna say what no one else is brave enough to say. This show is for the gays and the girlies. The people who get it, get it. The people who don't. This show is phenomenal. Just so good, so good. Such a must watch. Um, I think my only heartbreak with the show was literally meeting so many characters that I fell in love with, and knowing that like I'll never see them again. Um, but it was just too good. I'm sorry. Agatha is such a great character. This was definitely one of those shows that people are like, why is this getting made? And then you watch it and you're like, wait, this is another setup for the Young Avengers. Um, and I think this was a great second part to the Scarlet Witch WandaVision trilogy that they got going on, which is going to end with Vision Quest, which is the last project right before Doomsday. Um, and I have high hopes for that too, because these two have just been great. Yeah, yeah. If you don't get it, you don't get it. But if you get it, you get it. Um, Captain America: Brave New World is our next thing, and you know what? This one is a sad one because, like I said with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, this like Anthony Mackie is great as Captain America. I think he was the perfect person to take on the mantle. I think this movie, unfortunately, had a lot of negatives against it. One, motherfuckers are racist. So already, people are going to hate on it. But I think the biggest problem is that, like, this movie was just so poorly executed and written. Like, just, I think I don't even know this guy's name, but the new Falcon isn't. I don't like him. I don't care about that man. I think the whole Red Hulk thing was interesting, or it was like cool to see, but it wasn't interesting. That's what I'm trying to say. And the leader storyline was just bad. Just yeah, this was a lot of missed opportunity as well. But I don't think it's as bad as people think. I really think this movie gets more hate than anything because motherfuckers are racist. So I'm gonna put it in snap from existence. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a little forgettable, but that's okay. That's okay. I still love Anthony Mackie. Um, you know what? Hot take actually. Hmm. No, I don't know. I can't tell. No, I'm leaving it there. Right? Yeah, I'm leaving it there. Snap from existence. Daredevil Born Again. Daredevil Born Again is another fucking interesting one because I just can't believe this show exists. I can't believe we got Charlie Cox back as Daredevil. It's insane. Obviously, I think this show had really, really big shoes to fill with the original. Like, the original show was just so fucking phenomenal that it's hard to try to recreate that while also bringing it into the MCU. But I don't know. I think Charlie Cox does such a great job that, yeah, it isn't a perfect continuation of the original Netflix Daredevil show, but in its own thing, it's kind of Omega level. It's a good show. It's so good. I don't know. Charlie Cox just eats this role up. That yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. What else do we have left? So we have Ironheart, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Eyes of Wakanda, Marvel Zombies, Wonder Man, and then Brand New Day and the Punisher short. Okay. So, should I do a lightning round here? No. I'm this. I am gonna, but at the same time, Ironheart. Ironheart was another one of those moments where racism and misogyny mixed together, reared its ugly head, and studio failures really made this fucking show bomb when it shouldn't have. I think Riri Williams is such a great addition to the MCU. I think she was so well portrayed by the actress. I think the Hood was a fun, interesting villain to have. And obviously, the biggest thing about the show was finally getting Mephisto. We got him, and he was played to perfection by Sacha Baron Cohen. I really loved so many of the things that they talk about in the show. You just, having to deal with being so incredibly smart, like being Tony Stark level of smart, but having to unfortunately deal with racism and being a woman and how, you know, the world is kind of against you. And no matter how hard you try, it's really hard to move up in the world with that. I also think, as much as it feels weird to have Mephisto in the story, I think that storyline, that kind of those parts of it are why it actually weirdly does perfectly well. What? It does actually weirdly perfectly work well. Yes, that sentence makes sense. And I'm gonna say what I said. It's Avengers Assemble. It's not perfect. I do wish they would have touched upon some of those subjects a little bit more thoroughly. But I actually think it was a really good show, and I actually think more people should give it a shot because it was amazing. Thunderbolts, Omega Level. This is like the best movie that Marvel's made in a hot second. Like some of these movies are just great for different reasons. Like Shang-Chi, No Way Home, Multiverse of Madness are just like pure Marvel movie fun to me. But like this movie was heartbreaking. Like, I'm sorry, I sobbed at this movie. The story was so good. The characters, like, I'm sorry, fucking Florence Pugh is like, I'm glad that they're putting Florence Pugh in so many Marvel projects because they understand that they have an insane talent and a great character that they should be pushing forward as much as possible. And yeah, I feel like people don't talk about this. This is kind of like the silent sequel to Black Widow, and that Black Widow is more Yelena's movie than a Black Widow prequel, which is why I never had a problem with it coming out when it did. Um, and Thunderbolts is just great. The story, amazing. Everyone did a great job. The writing for it was great. Yeah, if you haven't watched this movie, fucking watch it as soon as possible because that movie was good. Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, this movie. All right, here's my problem with this movie. I think this movie is phenomenal. They casted the perfect four people to play these characters. Um, this movie was a long time coming, and it was gonna be hard to get it right, but they did the unthinkable. They got it right, and they did things perfectly. And I think everybody gave an amazing performance. I think starting it off in a middle point where it was like, these characters are already the Fantastic Four and not having it be another origin story was a great choice. I think Galactus as a villain was really great. I think my one issue with this film was I wish we would have gotten a little bit more of like Silver Surfer. Um, and I really, I'm sorry, hot take. I love that universe, that like 1960s retro futuristic thing, but I honestly kind of wanted to see Galactus destroy it, only because like I wanted this movie to have weight to it, and it felt like having Galactus as a threat and not doing anything with him after that felt weird. Um, but it's still a good movie. Is it Omega level? Is it Omega level? Hmm. I'm trying to think this through. You know what? Yeah. Yeah, it is Omega level because it has too much to live up to and it worked its pussy off to get. Um, the next three are going to be kind of lightning rounds here. The next four really, because I'm sorry, I haven't seen Eyes of Wakanda. I didn't see Marvel Zombies. And Wonder Man, I heard amazing things. I still haven't seen it. I really want to watch it. I can't believe like it got an Emmy nomination, and I can't believe it got fucking canceled after getting amazing reviews. But that's fine. Whatever. And the Punisher thing. Oh, the Punisher special. I haven't seen it either. So these are four projects that I do very much need to see as soon as possible. And then we have my newest baby, Brand New Day. We literally just saw this movie yesterday, and I have to say, this movie was so good that a part of me wants to put No Way Home lower just because this movie felt better than No Way Home to me. I'm gonna give my full thoughts in like a deeper review later, but really, this it was just phenomenal. It was phenomenal. Everything. Sadie Sink, The Punisher, Tom Holland finally feels like Spider-Man, and I just couldn't have asked for more. Uh, yeah, yeah. Feel good about this. Vision Quest obviously isn't gonna be there, so we'll just put it there. I like that. You know what? It looks a little uneven, but it makes sense to me. Yeah, I think this is my full list now. I think this is how I feel about everything. So you guys let me know what your opinions are and if you agree with me or disagree. I know a lot of these aren't Omega level for people, but I personally, I think this phase, this saga, got a lot more hate than people should have given it. I know it wasn't, peak MCU phase 3, but this was still a good few movies. We got a few good projects in here that I feel very good about. You know, yeah. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think.